Hi everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to make elderberry gummies. Hi, my name's Correne, and here at Spirea, I share videos that weave together plant wisdom, holistic health, self-sufficiency with just a dash of magic. If this sounds interesting to you, I'd love for you to stick around. So I hope you all have been enjoying your winter holiday. Hopefully you've had a nice long break or even a short few days. Anything is welcome, of course. My family is still off until next week, which I'm really grateful for. We've been hiking, reading books, and spending time with family, which I think is exactly what we should be doing this time of year. Now, I wanted to teach you how to make elderberry gummies for a few reasons. One, they're just really fun and kids like them. And this recipe can be adapted to do any juice, essentially, and you can make gummies out of them. Today we'll be harnessing the benefit of the immune boosting vitamin C and antiviral properties that elderberry syrup has and turning them into gummies. But I also wanted to share this recipe right now in case your kids are heading back to public school and maybe you want to send them along in lunch bags because they're great for on the go. It's not really very practical to bring a jar of elderberry syrup to school with you for a whole host of reasons. So for this recipe, you're going to need elderberry syrup of some kind. Now, if you've never made elderberry syrup before, I can post my video up here that I did recently on how to make it and how to can it. The recipe is also in my book, so if you have my book, it's in there. I've got recipes on my website on how to make elderberry syrup too. So this recipe does come with that caveat. I have only ever made gummies from my own elderberry syrup or like a homemade syrup. I have no idea if the store-bought stuff like Sambucol or any of those will work for making gummies because they're not following the same protocols. The ingredients are completely different. So I want to make that caveat right there that you should probably make your own or support a local herbalist. Lots of us make it and sell it. I even have DIY kits available on my website that you can make your own syrup, but you don't have to worry about sourcing the ingredients. So you're going to need elderberry syrup. You're going to need some type of gelatin. I have not experimented with vegan alternatives, so if anyone's got a great vegan alternative for making gummies, please post that in the comment below so we can share that with the community. You're gonna need gelatin, you're gonna need water, and you're gonna need some kind of mold. Now, you don't have to get fancy pants like these, okay? You can use like even a Pyrex dish lined with some wax paper or parchment paper. You just want to make sure that it's fairly flexible so you're going to be able to pop out those gummies and then you can cut them. They don't have to be in actual like gummy bear form or gummy worms, as long as it's a silicone tray of some kind or, like I said, either wax paper or parchment paper. And this recipe, of course, again, is in my book. So if you haven't snagged a copy yet, I'll make sure those links are below. You can order them right through Amazon, so you can always just add it to your shopping cart for your next order, or you can get it through me as well. So for this process, I really like to work with a 4-cup measuring cup. You're gonna be doing a lot of whisking. The recipe's not difficult, but you need to make sure that the gelatin is fully incorporated and dissolved, and that's gonna involve a lot of elbow grease. And so I wanna make sure I've got enough surface so I'm not splashing all over the place. It is helpful to have a smaller measuring cup because we're going to need 1 cup or 250 milliliters of elderberry syrup. So I'm gonna measure that out now. And I didn't quite have enough in the fridge, so I have to open up a new jar. Not a problem, we always go through it this time of year. Make sure we've got 250 milliliters, perfect. And now you're gonna wanna pour about half of this into your 4-cup measuring cup. About half or so, tiny bit more. And this is where we're gonna add our 1/4 cup of gelatin. And I do recommend getting a good quality gelatin if you can, from grass-fed animals, all of those types of things. It's worth the extra cost because you really don't use that much of it. So I'm measuring out a 1/4 cup. And now while I'm doing this, I have a half a cup of water at pretty high heat, like you don't quite want it at boiling, on the stove. And we're going to be adding that in as well. So as you can see, I've got my gelatin in here and that first little bit of elderberry syrup, and I am just going to whisk, whisk, whisk. And now as I'm whisking, I'm going to add my 1/2 cup of hot water to this. And this is going to help dissolve the gelatin. I'm going to keep whisking. Like I said, elbow grease on this one. Now make sure if you're going to be using trays or anything that you have all of your tools ready. Or like I said, you can just use like a baking tray, a Pyrex dish, something flat with some parchment paper or wax paper, and you can just pour the whole kit and caboodle on there and cut it up into squares afterwards. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. Now that I have my gelatin all dissolved, I'm going to pour the rest of my elderberry syrup in and stir, make sure it's well incorporated. And now the labor-intensive part of this job begins. Once it's all mixed well, you're going to start to see that it actually sets pretty quickly. I'm going to get my molds ready. Now, when you buy these molds off of a place like Amazon or wherever you get them from, they usually come with a nifty little dropper. And like I said, this is the more cumbersome part of this. You're just going to be pouring your syrup into your dropper. So as you can see, this batch made 3 trays of gummy worms and 1 tray of gummy bears. So this actually makes quite a large amount of elderberry gummies. And for some reason, so while my syrup will keep 2 to 3 months in the fridge, no problem, once opened, the gummies only tend to last about 2 to 3 weeks. And I'm assuming this has something to do with the gelatin, because if my syrup lasts for 2 to 3 months, but the gummies have a shorter shelf life, it must be the gelatin. So this would be a really great project for you to get together with maybe some of your friends or some of the people in your neighborhood, so you could then split these, because I'll offer some of these up to friends, because there's no way we're going to go through this many elderberry gummies before they all start to mold and go funky. Now, I've never frozen them before. So if anyone's ever made gummies and frozen them and then successfully thawed them, let me know. Please put that in the comments, because that would be really super cool to share. So once you have your molds all finished and ready, you're going to want to pop them in the fridge for about 2 to 3 hours. That's how long they take to set. And then from there, you just pop them out of the molds and store them in a container of your choice. The easiest thing to do, because these are still very flexible and kind of bendy, I like to slide these onto like either cookie sheets or cutting boards. Just to give them a bit of structure. It makes it a bit easier to pop them into the fridge. So as you can see, they turned out fantastic, right? They're really easy to make, and I really like using these molds because they just pop out just like that. And no, not right now. I will later though, absolutely. So why do we take elderberries?
Well, there's 2 reasons.
Okay.
Well, more, it's just these are the 2 I know.
And what are they?
Very high in vitamin C.
Yes.
And they're also great for your immune system.
That's true. They are also antiviral, so they're going to fight off any viruses, and they're pretty good for things like coughs and fevers as well. So in general, it's a really great plant to get to know. They also don't really have a lot of side effects, which is cool.
Yes,
and why do you like the gummies?
Because, well, they're just really cool and...
They taste good, right?
Yeah. However, I'm going to do a notice. Even though we have an entire plate full, you should probably only eat 1 or 2 at a time. 1 or 2 at a time. That's true. So each gummy worm is actually equivalent to 4 gummy bears. So my dosing, I usually recommend, I would say 1 worm. You know, if your kiddo is sick, you could probably do up to 1 worm every 3 or 4 hours. And if you're just taking them as a bit of a boost or preventative, 1 is probably enough for the day. So that would mean like about 2 or 3 gummy bears is enough. That's equal to a teaspoon of elderberry syrup. So 2 to 3 gummy bears is equal to a teaspoon. So this is probably close to 1.5 teaspoons. You can go ahead, now that you've destroyed that one, you can eat it.
So if you have any questions or comments on how to make elderberry syrup, again, I linked that video, so make sure you check it out. Why you'd want to take it, or any questions about the process for making elderberry gummies, you can leave those comments below. And until next time, this is Correne from Spirea Herbs and Kiddo, wishing you health and wellness.